Hi there. I'm going to talk today about what it costs to get a roof replaced. If you're not in the construction or roofing industry, you most likely have no idea what it would cost to replace your roof with a new one. So there's two main components that are going to make up that cost to replace. The first one being labor, and the second one being whatever type of materials you choose to reinstall after the old roof is torn off. How steep your roof is going to affect the cost. If it's really steep, like a 9/12, 10/12 pitch or something higher than that, it makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to walk on unaided. We have to use ropes and other things like that. So that's going to add a lot to the cost there. If it's what we call walkable, meaning that you can easily get up on your roof and walk around to install Christmas lights or clean out your gutters or things of that nature, then we can very easily walk around on that roof to replace the roofing material. Another thing that affects that is when we're tearing off your roof, how many layers are on there. The vast majority of roofs only have one layer on there, but it's very common, especially on older homes, to have multiple layers. And it may even be sometimes 2 or 3 layers. We've seen where there's 2 layers of asphalt shingles, and then underneath that there's a layer of wood shakes. Well, that's going to add tremendously to the cost, because not only do we have 3 layers to tear off, but we've also got, that added labor to remove that material. We've got to carry it to the dump trailer or to the dumpster, and then we have multiple trips to go dispose of that material, so that adds to the cost as well. Another factor is just the ease of installation. If you have a roof that's just a basic peak and it's a flat slope on the front and a flat slope on the back, that's going to be much less expensive than if you get into more difficult installs where you've got multiple dormers, you've got pipes and penetrations coming through the roof, you've got vents and things like that. Those definitely add to the cost because it's more labor to do it, it's more difficult to do it, and it takes more expertise to do it. So the second portion there would be the materials, and I've listed out just a few of the options here. There's literally dozens of different options, but these are probably the most common choices for roofing materials. And so the first one would just be your standard shingle, standard 30-year or lifetime shingle that is not impact rated. That's going to be kind of your baseline. The next step up would be an impact rated shingle, which is going to be Class 3 or Class 4 impact rated, which means it's been tested to withstand hail up to a certain degree. So that's going to add a little bit to the cost there. There's what we call kind of a general term called designer shingles. Those would be the shingles that are much thicker than the standard ones, and they're meant to look like wood shakes or slate or things of that nature. Another option is exposed fastener steel, and steel comes in different thicknesses. Your least expensive exposed fastener steel is going to be a 29 gauge because that's the thinnest steel. As you take your next step up, the exposed fastener steel, that's the other end of the spectrum, which is 22 gauge, is going to be probably 2 to 3 times as thick as the 29 gauge. So that's going to withstand hail much better, and it's just going to last longer overall. So that's going to be more expensive than the 29 gauge. Then stepping up one more level would be a hidden fastener steel, where all of your screws and other fasteners are hidden from the weather so that they don't wear out. They don't have the little rubber neoprene washers to wear out on them. So that is not only more expensive as a material, but that's also more labor intensive to install. And the top of the line would be a 22 gauge hidden fastener steel. And that's, like I said, is going to be the same as the 26 gauge exposed fastener steel or the hidden fastener steel, but it's going to be much thicker. So that's also going to withstand the hail better and, dents and dings and tree limbs falling and things like that. So I wrote out a couple of little examples here that are going to range from 4 to 17. Just wanted to kind of put a number to it so that we have a reference point, so you have something to go off of. And At the end of the video, I'll step aside and I'll leave this up for a little bit if you want to screenshot it or write this information down just so you have a rough idea. You know, you might know if your roof is steep or if it's walkable. You may even know how many layers are on there, and you might know what type of material you want to put back on. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what the cost might be to replace. So just a kind of a standard example, which would be our baseline, our least expensive option, would be taking a standard shingle on a roof that's walkable, that's a low pitch, only has one layer to tear off, and it's an easy install because it doesn't have a lot of penetrations coming through the roof. It doesn't have a lot of pipes and vents and valleys and things like that. Another option would be if you were to have a designer shingle, but your roof is steep. That's going to add to the cost. If you've got multiple layers to tear off, that's going to add to the cost as well. And then again, like I mentioned before, the difficult or easy install, if that one is difficult and you've got a lot of stuff you need to work around, that's going to add to the cost. So that one's going to be a 16, whereas our baseline is a 4. The exposed fastener steel in a 22 gauge, where this has all of the fasteners exposed, but it's a very thick, heavy-duty steel. Let's just say, for example, your roof is easy to walk on. You've only got one layer to tear off, and it's a pretty easy install. Maybe you've only got one or two valleys or a couple dormers or things like that, and so it's pretty easy to get the installation done. That's only going to be a 7. So kind of our top of the line here, or our most expensive of all the different scenarios, would be a hidden fastener steel, where all your fasteners are going to be hidden from the weather so they don't wear out. So just for example, if your roof is very steep, this is a very labor-intensive material to install. So if you factor that in with the fact that you can't easily walk on your roof, that means you also can't stack materials on your roof to then later install those materials. We have to stack them on the ground and then carry them up the ladder or lift them up with some kind of a lift. So that's going to add to the cost. If you've got multiple layers to tear off because you or the previous homeowner has taken the inexpensive route and they've just overlaid their other roofing materials rather than tearing it off. So you've got multiple layers to tear off and you've got a difficult install. This is kind of the most expensive of all of the different scenarios. You might have a lot of different valleys to work around, some skylights, things like that. So that one's going to rate at the top of our spectrum at a 17. So this just gives you a little bit of an idea what your roof might cost in comparison to other roofs. You can drive around your neighborhood and just take a look at the average roof and see how steep it is and kind of gauge that against your roof. And then also see, you know, obviously if you have skylights up there, you can walk out into your yard. If you get back far enough, you can see how many vents you have, how many plumbing pipes you have, things of that nature. So this will give you a little bit of an idea. If you would like more of an exact number, you can feel free to message us on Facebook or call us at 877-4450, and we would be happy to come out and give you an exact, precise number down to the penny. Thanks for watching.